Well guys, Dominic Mackay picked a nice easy day for the start of his time at Celtic. The football world is quite literally at war. Celtic are a complete shambles. We will obviously come on to the shambles that was a defeat at Ibrox yesterday. Just before that, I think it would be remiss not to have a quick natter about the developments in world football. Jackie, everyone's talking about it at the moment, the Super League, the 12 teams that have gone to form this European Super League that isn't very European. It's just 3 countries from Europe. What do you make of the whole situation?
I think it's quite bizarre how it just came out at the woodwork. You've always heard about leagues over the last number of years, breakaway leagues and everything else. Just now I can't see it happening. I know money talks and everything else, but I think the fallout from it is quite severe, even for fans of their own clubs. You could see they're very unhappy with it. So, not great for the game.
My worry is that the owners of these clubs have just completely detached from reality and don't really care. Like, it's an odd one because over the years there's been so many rumours about different breakaway leagues and all this sorts of nonsense. It's always been confined to like a Sunday exclusive or something like that from one of the red tops. It's bizarre that all the clubs have announced it all together and that there's apparently $5 billion from this American bank available. That's what kind of worries me a little bit, and is that they've all kind of taken decisive action. But I'm kind of with you, Jackie. I kind of think it's all posturing, and surely somehow sanity will prevail. Hamish, I know you follow a lot of the UEFA stuff, a lot of the UEFA competitions, ins and outs of coefficients and regulations. What are your thoughts on it?
I think there's a lot of problems that a lot of people have with it, and I think the main one is that it's a closed door league, so there wouldn't be any relegation, promotion. You wouldn't have that peril that we associate with football, since football began hundreds of years ago. I've got loads of problems with it, what it does for every team who isn't one of the 12 or the 20 teams that would be in this league. But more than anything else, just looking at the teams that are in the league and some of the fixtures that we could have in this new league, I don't even find it that appealing. Manchester United against Juventus, Spurs against AC Milan, are these genuinely matches that anyone would rather see than what we've got at the moment? The best fixtures you'd have in this league would probably be the Milan Derby, El Clasico, Man U, Man City, and the irony there is that these are fixtures that we've already got, and we've got them for a reason because these are the games that have the history. So, yeah, people will talk about how exciting it could be, but I'm not having it, Jackie.
No, I think it's the same with Champions League, how that's been over at the start. The 5 and 6 teams from one country, teams that haven't actually won the league and they're in it. But it's money, it always has been, and that is a concern that there's that much money, just under $5 billion, invested or getting invested in it. Usually that kind of money, especially just now after sort of global pandemic, you're worried that it gets pushed through, and it's not the will of the people.
It's weird as well because the Champions League, the most exciting it's been in recent years is probably when Ajax went on that run, and it's the randomness of football that people love so much. That's what people hold on to in these kind of tournaments. And it was the same I thought the knockout version of the tournament last year in the middle of the pandemic was the most exciting it's been for a while too. People like the randomness and the edge of a knockout, encounter where there's stakes, and there's no stakes in this new league. That's what's most worrying for me. But Hamish, if Celtic were given the call, would you take it?
It's like that age-old debate, isn't it, of where do you put your priorities? Do you put your priorities on being the most dominant team in Scotland, well, the history that has, or would we want to go to the big league? I'll pass on that for now, John. We can maybe revisit that at another stage. Okay. We'll move on to a far cheerier topic, guys, which is the defeat at Ibrox yesterday. I spoke last week about the things I wanted to see Celtic doing, and it was taking chances and it wasn't gifting away daft goals. We got the greatest hits from season 2020-2021 yesterday, Jackie. Just more disappointment to pile more agony onto a hellish season.
Yeah, it kind of sums it up in a nutshell. I think even just the disappointing the team selection. We're going with relax out. You could clearly see that was where both goals. The first goal was way out of position. And not the first time. The second one is far too easy to get in. I know John Joe is scored the OG, but he leads with the wrong foot at that point. It hits off and goes in, but it was just so easy to get into that position. You're working so hard to try and create something up the other end. When that's just, even if you look at the first goal back, the actual left back area, and she lacks out, and I don't know where he is actually. You just see him sort of coming back into the picture. I know John changed it at half time, but game was, you're up against it at that point. And obviously Forrest was a miss from last week, but even last week we spoke about the importance. It's okay doing it, Elyounoussi, consistency, big games, doing it in these matches. Unfortunately, he hasn't. Livingston's in different games, not just disrespect, but that the Rangers games and ones like that are the ones that matter, especially, a chance to finish the season on a high. For guys leaving the club like Brown and everything else, but just a disappointing way to exit the cup.
Pretty much everything you were saying, Jackie, kind of came to pass. But we're talking a lot about being clinical in the finishing, and again, that was our undoing. Edouard in front of goal just.
What has happened to him, John?
Completely devoid of interest or confidence or whatever you want to call it. Conviction, I said yesterday on the video. I can't put my finger on it. Jackie, I'm sure you can't put your finger on it, but is it not frustrating that the same mistakes keep appearing again and again?
The thing with strikers, and I don't know if it's the same with Edouard, but the other ones, we seem to have a real issue with strikers, with sharpness, and because they're not getting the game time, they need to be playing week in, week out. And I think we've seen that throughout this season. Griffiths, when he came on, the Falkirk game, he was miles off it, what we're used to seeing from him earlier on in the season. And it's been the same for me even last year. Guys come in, they don't get an opportunity. They don't change a lot between confidence and sharpness and fitness. And that looks just kind of going through the motions at times. And that was obvious. Even the week before against Livingston, Edouard would normally have scored a couple. Just that 1v1, the sharpness to lift it over the keeper or snatching at things. So, it's maybe his head's, elsewhere in the summer, speculation about him leaving. It's maybe he's not handled it, as best he can. It's affecting his performances.
I don't know if I would keep Edouard in the team for the rest of the season. That may sound a big grand statement, but we've only got 4 games left this season. I know there's not necessarily better options there. Ajeti and Griffiths are way off it. Klimala isn't going to be at Celtic for much longer. Well, there's no youth strikers there at the club. We've loaned out Afolabi, so maybe Edouard will keep playing, but he just doesn't really seem interested. He should have had 2 goals yesterday, no doubt. Penalty he has to score, usually he would score. And the one that he balloons over the bar is an absolute sitter. Welsh misses a great chance in the first half. You're kind of wanting to forgive him a little bit because he's young and also he's obviously a centre back. Elyounoussi is the real unforgivable one for me. That first touch was abysmal. He has to score that. That's 4 goals right there. People look at me and I'm obviously biased and they'll say, I'm clutching at straws saying that we should have scored 4 goals yesterday, John, but that's 4 chances that I think Rangers would have scored.
Undoubtedly, yeah. And they are clinical in front of goal. As soon as we gave the ball away yesterday, you knew it was going to end up in a goal for them. That's how bad it was. And we were misplacing too many passes in that first half. Rangers are taking the chances at the moment, and I think just with the Edouard stuff and the Elyounoussi stuff, there just seems to be a lack of trust with the support now, and in terms of these players, you're thinking about Edouard and you go, would he have missed that penalty if he was playing for the French under-21s? A lot of people would say probably he wouldn't. And it's unfortunate the way it's all panned out. There's just a real sour note of the club, and the silence continues from Celtic. Don Mackay's in the door today, and it's his first day, but there's been no clarity again from Celtic about anything that's happening, and everyone's just a bit sick of it, Jackie. Are you sick of it?
I think things, as the guy's just coming in now, I'd imagine it will push things forward, in terms of the manager. Had it went the other way yesterday and John won, there might be some people that are pushing for John to get the job, saying, he's done well and, deserves a shot at it, which creates maybe more problems. I think with this, with the result and some of the decisions that he made, it's made people, look at it and say, we need things to change now. We need a new manager in place. We need, director of football. We need recruitment. And there's a lot of change, obviously, it's going to come in the summer. And it really needs to get started now. So I'd imagine behind the scenes, that's what Peter and Dominic will do now, is looking at everything. Get the director of football in, the manager in, and then start looking at recruitment. The players, there's going to be massive change.
I mean, Sean Maloney on Sports Scene last night said that next season's planning should really already be done, because we're in mid-April now. I mean, do you agree with that kind of assessment? Should Celtic already be way down the road on the planning for qualifiers and next season? We're already playing catch-up.
I mean, they'll have their targets that they've had. Yeah, they will be planning, the guys that have been in the job even before Nick Hammond left. They'll have their targets. But again, a lot will depend on the new people coming in. It might not be their cup of tea. They might want to play a different way. They might want, I think right throughout the team, there's a lot of questions that need answered in different positions. Goalkeeping for one, I still see that as a major issue moving forward. Two fullbacks that started yesterday were both loan players. Mm-hmm. Which is not great. 3 loan players going into a derby. You want to be your own players and be part of it. So there's a lot of change that will come, and obviously the sooner the better for the new person coming in.
Hamish, £36 million received, and still probably our weakest areas of the team. That's not acceptable, is it? I know it's not as simple as saying, you take in £25 million and you spend that again on another player, but surely the club are earmarking, a large quantity of that, of securing a quality replacement, and we're stuck with 2 loan players, like Jackie says. We're a career hospital.
Yeah, I mean, it's that regression that we've seen throughout the whole of the club is summed up by those 2 positions. Frimpong wasn't everyone's cup of tea. I don't think he was anywhere near the finished product, but he was clearly a much, much better player, much more effective attacker than someone like John Joe Kenny. Tierney was obviously probably a generational talent, would probably describe him as. So you're never going to replace someone like Tierney and get someone as good as him. But the regression, in these areas for me is pretty stark. And the kind of worrying thing is that we spent £3 million, I think, on volleyball and goalie, and we spent £2 million on Hatem El Hamed, and neither of those are anywhere near the Celtic team. Obviously, El Hamed's left the club permanently, so we're either not signing the right mentality of players to come into the club and succeed at Celtic, or our scouting is just way off in terms of the quality of players. But it's there in a nutshell. We're not investing into signing the best players to replace players when they leave, and that just has to change going forward. The most worrying thing for me yesterday, and to be honest, it's been the case in all the derby games this season, is that Rangers didn't even play that well. They probably played a 6 or a 7.
Get in trouble for that one, Hamish.
I know. Well, I don't care. I'm used to it by now. I think Rangers are a decent team, and they've proved that in Europe, and they're a well coached team, and they've got some good players. If anything, it's a credit to them that they're able to win these matches easily yesterday and not even play that well. I think Rangers put in a 6 or a 7 out of 10 yesterday and still beat us comfortably, and still didn't even really look like they were out of second gear at any stage. I don't know what that says about Celtic when you consider that years ago we were the team who would be able to play 6 or 7 out of 10s and beat Rangers comfortably. Yesterday, I think, was 5 years pretty much to the day since that Hampden semi-final loss to Rangers. Chris Sutton spoke on Twitter after the game talking about how Celtic responded to that defeat, Jackie. They brought in Brendan Rodgers. I know this is a real open question, but what response do we need to see from Celtic now? Is it as simple as bringing in another Brendan Rodgers type, like an Eddie Howe or someone else, or do we need to see something else in the coming days and weeks?
No, I think seeing someone else come in now, like Eddie Howe, is a Brendan Rodgers type appointment, in my opinion, in terms of his style and what he brings. And I think obviously that would help things now with the supporters, especially at this stage. It's to get that goodwill back and look forward to next season with some optimism. Just now, it's quite doom and gloom because it's been knocked out the cup. And there's obviously a big change coming, as I keep saying, but it needs to happen. It needs to happen quickly and get people in, because you need to make decisions on players. And for a manager to look over that, if Eddie Howe was watching the game yesterday, what would he be thinking? Right throughout the spine of the team, the shape, and that would be a concern.
He'd be thinking he needs 11 players, Jackie. That's the reality of it.
Because we obviously have seen a lot of them over the last number of years, and some of them, we talk about the both full-backs that clearly, as I said, he changed at half time. I don't know why he didn't start Taylor instead of Laxalt. I'm obviously biased with that one, but I do believe it was a wrong decision, purely on what we're watching. Even the second half, the difference, keeping your position in these games, where they've hurt us in the past, is actually where we wanted to hurt them, in between the full backs and the centre halves, by them keeping these position. I think pure and simply, if the manager comes in quickly, Eddie Howe type, that would turn everything around, and real positive one for the fans and something to look forward to, going into the next season.
Interesting one, Hamish, today is that the SPFL announced that next season Sky have agreed to let the clubs, sell pay-per-view matches and have passes to Paradise and all that again next season. There was some doubt about that, and people weren't sure whether Sky were going to sign up for that again, which was causing a bit of uncertainty with selling season tickets, I believe. So it's interesting that that's come out today. Sky are on board with that, which means that we might see a little bit of movement from Celtic on the season ticket front as well. And if they're ready to announce season tickets, they've got to be ready to announce the footballing project, as we say, to supporters. So that's another wee sign today that change is on the way. That's the only comfort I can give people at the moment. Like Jackie says, is that change is coming. It feels like we've been talking about the change for months now. So hopefully Celtic have got their ducks in a row here.
Yeah, I mean, Celtic are going to be asking fans once again to pay money with no guarantees over what football they're going to see. I certainly have higher hopes than I did for this season, but you're asking, 53,000 people to pay money again after they've paid full season ticket price for this season and not seen a minute of football, with their own eyes. There was a couple of my pals were pointing out some of these players that have given us hell this season, Laxalt, John Joe Kenny, Shane Duffy. Celtic fans will never even have seen these guys with their own eyes. It's crazy, but I suppose that's just the way we've been this season. In general, I think us three are quite positive about next season. I don't know if that's just blind faith or just the way we all look at life. Did yesterday change that at all, Jackie? Has it changed any of the feeling for next season, where you're maybe a bit more worried than you were before?
No, I think even regardless if it went our way yesterday, I still look towards some of the optimism. I think change is always going to come. I mean, these things do take time, the process, getting the right people and doing the right things, contracts, the director of football. There's so many things to be done. It's not just a simple managerial change. If you look behind, it's everything. The chief exec coming in, right throughout the clubs. There's going to be a massive change. So it's important to get it right, and hopefully they do, and I'm confident they will. That they'll, maybe take a bit more time. For the players' side, it's not great because there's uncertainty there, and they wonder who it's going to be. Is it going to, before John Kennedy's taking it, and not sure if he's going to be involved next year if a new manager comes in. So I think as soon as we have that clarity with who it is right throughout their managerial setup, recruitment, everything is so crucial that they get it right.
If we're here next week talking about nothing's changed at Celtic, I'm gonna be very upset, Hamish. Let's put it that way.
Let's hope for John's health then, that there's a few big announcements planned from the club in the coming days. And needless to say, 67 Hail Hail will be with you all of the way, whether that's on our YouTube channel or online at 67hailhail.com. A few people have been asking me to do a video looking into the new European Super League and what it could mean for Celtic, so I think we'll have that out for you tomorrow. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you've not done it yet, and we'll speak to you soon.